I would like to thank you all for your attendance today. There are over 368 partners here today, and about half of you are wearing those purple lanyards, right? You're an ISV. The other half of you might be a systems integrator, a managed service provider, a VAR, an LSP, all of these different partner types that we sometimes refer to, especially throughout today, as channel partners. And really, the objective today is to bring us all together to capture the opportunity of Microsoft Commercial Marketplace together. And we see this opportunity really starting to grow. You'll hear us talk a lot throughout the day about marketplace momentum. And this is a great place to have this conversation because we're seeing this right here in the United Kingdom. We've had almost 100% year-over-year growth in ISV sales through Microsoft Commercial Marketplace. And many of those ISVs that are selling into UK customers are also based in the UK. And they're household names like Tanium and Oracle and Nerdio and those types of partners, names that you probably recognize that your customers do as well. And then on the other side, the customer side, we've seen almost 100% year-over-year growth there as well across our Fortune 500 customers, which are our enterprise customers. And a lot of today's dialogue is going to be how do we jointly sell together to those enterprise customers. And many of those are right here in the United Kingdom as well. It's like RSA and Nationwide. And we're not the only ones seeing this momentum. Many of you probably stay in tune with the analysis that comes from Canalys. Most recently, they updated their cloud marketplace forecast. You see this in a lot of hyperscaler slide decks, I'm sure, but this one's really interesting. By the year 2028, they've upped this forecast. They expect $85 billion of revenue to flow through cloud marketplaces. So that's what today is all about. It's about how do we get together and capture this opportunity. When I think about Microsoft Commercial Marketplace, I often think of it as the most partner-focused business platform, and that is the goal to which we strive, is to continue to innovate and build Microsoft Commercial Marketplace to help you reach more customers, simplify your sales to those customers, and unlock growth. I will tell you that in the marketplace world, it's very similar to off-marketplace transactions, but there are nuances. And sometimes you may need to change the way that you communicate internally with your sales teams, with your partners, whether you're an ISV communicating with channel partners or channel partners communicating with ISVs, with your technical support folks, and especially with your customers. And I think one of the interesting things is maybe we can take an opportunity and think about a common language that we can use. I don't know if you've seen any of Andy White's content. He's the Chief Executive Officer at MEDDICC. I love their content, sales frameworks, common language. I'm going to step off stage for 20 minutes and let Andy really dive deep on what they're doing at MEDDICC. Andy, please join me on stage.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
It's your pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Morning. How we doing?
I won't waste any time getting stuck straight in today. We're going to talk about three things. MEDDICC as a common co-sell language. There's three topics here. What is MEDDICC? What is a common language? And what is something called NAME, which stands for Not All MEDDICC is Equal. Now, you might already be a little bit confused because we've already seen MEDDICC with one C, MEDDICC with two Cs. MEDDICC, right? Who's confused? Anyone confused? Yeah, a few, right? This is my life, by the way. I live this every single day with people asking questions, which one is it? The truth is, it's an acronym, right? And so each letter stands for something. This is the most common version we talk about, MEDDICC, okay? This is the one that, I don't know, see if hands, anyone use a variation of MEDDICC in the room? Quite a few hands. It's quite normal expectation. It's quite prevalent. In fact, another hyperscaler did a survey of their top accounts, and 76% of them used MEDDICC. So it's quite prevalent out there. Now, I'm not going to go into each of these letters right now, but we will talk about them a little bit more in a second. What we are going to talk about, I'm going to answer this question I get asked quite a lot, which is, should there be a P for partners? And I think no, there shouldn't be a P for partners in MEDDICC. It's not because I don't think partnerships, channel, co-selling marketplaces are important. It's because I think they're very, very important, and we shouldn't relegate them down to just being one letter inside of MEDDICC. It should go all the way across MEDDICC. But to understand why we think that, you have to understand how we see MEDDICC. We see it in a different way from a lot of ways that other people see it. A lot of people say it's a methodology. It definitely can be a methodology. See, it's a framework, process. There's all these different things it gets called. Our way of describing what MEDDICC is as a common language. right? It's a common language that works across the entire customer lifecycle for every go-to-market team when engaging with customers. So it's a common language that talks to the 3 imperatives of customer engagement. Those 3 imperatives are, first and foremost, value. We all get this, right? We should not be engaging with any customer, whether it be directly or via co-sell motion, without bringing value to that conversation. No matter where we are, no matter what stage of the process we're in, we should always be leading with value. Then there's stakeholders. Now, stakeholders overlaps with value because value is stakeholder specific, right? We get this wrong in sales a lot, right? Where we think about the value we bring being specific to the company. What pain do we solve for the company? Well, it's not the company or the customer, it's who's inside of that organization. Because everybody feels pain differently, right? May even have the same pain, but feel it differently. And therefore, they get the different value you get from solving the pain differently. So we have to think about pain and value being stakeholder specific. And then there's the process, right? The forgotten about one. It's unsexy, isn't it? Am I allowed to say sexy at a Microsoft event? Maybe. If the trapdoor opens, you know why. Unsexy though, right? It's like process is not what the LinkedIn gurus like to talk about, is it? It's just not, they like talking about making opportunities, that type of thing. But actually, we all know this, process makes or breaks all of our years. Doesn't matter what part of the go-to-market team we're in, it's really, really important. I mean, just put it simply, if we can make our processes 10% more efficient, leading to a 10% reduction in time to close, that's like getting another month in the year for all of us, and we'd all take that, wouldn't we, right? So this basically comes down to right person, right message, right time. This is nothing new, but the first time we have a common language to talk about it. So let's zoom in on value. So the first letter, or first element, as we would say, of MEDDICC for value is implications. Now, some of you that use MEDDICC or a variation of it might be thinking, well, I thought the I stood for identify the pain, and it kind of does. But for us, identifying the pain is not enough. It's not enough just to go to the customer and say, oh, look, you got some pain. The customer goes, oh yeah, so I do. Want to buy my solution to fix it? No, actually, I've got quite a few other things that are more important than that. So we have to get to the implications. That's what good go-to-market is, what good selling is. We have to get to what the implications of that are. The way we do that is we find what the pain is, and we get into what life is like without our solution. And then we want to talk about what life is like with our solution. And this gives a view of the implications of the pain and implications of the gain. When we've got those 2 views of the world, we can then measure them with metrics. The delta between pain and gain is where you find metrics. Now, this is really important from a co-selling perspective, and very useful from a co-selling perspective, because now we have a common language, no matter who we're working with, where we can actually communicate to each other in a very clear, concise way. Hey, I think we should be talking to this customer. Here's the pain that they're likely to have without our solution. Here's the gain that they get with our solution. This is how we can measure the value that's between the 2 states. What do you think? Do you think that'll be interesting to go and co-sell with the customer with? So it's a very concise way of having a common language to do things you're doing every day, but in different languages a lot of the time. Then there's decision criteria. Now, this is my favorite. I know I shouldn't have a favorite. It's like having a favorite child, but this is my favorite element. This is what separates average to good salespeople, is decision criteria. Average salespeople, decision criteria, they go and approach the customer and they want to understand what their criteria for basing their decision is, right? And they go and they do 2 things wrong. The first is they only think technical. Okay, so they go and try and find out what the technical decision criteria is. And the second thing is they give the customer credit for coming up with a good decision criteria. So they think, oh, this customer knows what they're doing. They don't. They have day jobs. They're not experts in our solutions, right? So if we trust them to have a good decision criteria, it's unlikely it's going to be good. It's either done by research they've done on your website and other people's websites, or an analyst, or at worst, your competition, right? Which is what happens a lot of the time. And so if you turn up and try and pitch to that decision criteria, you're playing to somebody else's rules. Good salespeople, what they do is they know that the customer's unlikely to have a good decision criteria, so they go in and they treat the customer like a blank canvas, and they see themselves as consultative. They inspire the customer, seeing the world the way they see it, which should be the best way of seeing it, because that's why you work for the company you work for. And so they inspire the customer to follow their idea of what the decision criteria should be. And they're seen as consultative and thought leading, all that good stuff. Then the second thing that good salespeople do is they see it as beyond technical. So they'll think about the economic decision criteria and the relationship decision criteria. This is hugely important for all of us in this room. Relationship, because a big part of the relationship decision criteria is the partners we work with. Our customers, who else do they work with? They want us to play nicely with and collaborate with and partner with. That is massively important for relationship decision criteria. So if we can lead with that and tell our prospective customers, hey, guess what? I see you work with Softcat. We work with Softcat as well. Whoever the partner may be, we're onto a winner there, right? And then there's the economic decision criteria, which is even better for this audience and this event today, which is because economic, of course, it's all to do with the commercials, the cost of ownership, the cost of change, and the license costs themselves, but it's also about how you procure, right? In this new world of Microsoft Commercial Marketplace, you can actually proactively bring that as a procurement route into the economic decision criteria and not only benefit the customer, but differentiate yourself in their eyes as well. Whether they already know about all the benefits and they're already bought in and they see you as someone that's aligned with them, or they don't know and you get to be the one that teaches them about all of the great benefits that come with a Microsoft Commercial Marketplace. So it's a win for everyone, right? So that's why I get so excited about decision criteria. Moving on, stakeholders. So stakeholders, probably everyone's going, yeah, I know, Andy, what a champion is. We talk about it all day. And that is actually kind of the problem. Because if you have a co-selling motion and one person has one view of what a champion is, another person has another view, that's actually worse than not having the same language to describe someone at all. Because one person thinks, like we do, a champion has power and influence, they have a vested interest and they're selling internally for us. And the other person thinks, well, the person that talks to me the most is my champion because that's the person I like talking to. And you can imagine how that's aiming for a real big problem when you need a champion, you need a real champion further on in your deal and you've got the wrong person identified in your co-sale. So it's really important to get a champion involved. And then we've got the economic buyer. What have we learned about them? The great thing about co-selling is we can learn from each other. A lot of the time it won't be one of the partners' first rodeos. One of the partners has probably been through an engagement with the customer before. So you can learn so much, like who's the economic buyer? It may not be the same person, but it's useful to at least have the language so you can identify who that person is, who you're looking for, and that kind of thing. As well, not all the time, but a lot of the time, the economic buyer will have an interest in Azure, have an interest in the Mac, the committed spend. All of those things will be very relevant, likely, to the economic buyer because they probably presided over the investment in the first place. So not only are they going to be interested in talking about Microsoft Commercial Marketplace, but they're going to see you, if you bring it to the table, whichever role you're in, as being aligning with their strategy. So that's a really good thing about having the economic buyer prominent in co-selling motions as well. And then the competition, you may just think, well, competition speaks for itself. It's the rivals, right? It's the people we're competing with day in, day out. Yep, sure. And it's important in co-selling motions, we have open communication about who else is involved, who else is bidding here. That's very, very useful. But it's not just about the rivals, right? It's about, we class competition as being any other initiative, any other project that is borrowing resource or budget from you. And that's very, very important, particularly when we're talking about cloud transformation projects and there's all different priorities. You know, it's often we're working with other vendors, working with other partners, and we want to make sure we understand where we are on the priorities list. That's really important. Because if we're not at the top, we need to make some decisions of how we get to the top. Sometimes we won't get there. We're just not going to be the top priority, and that's okay as long as we know it, right? So having this common language to identify those things, really, really powerful. I talked about the process not being that exciting. Well, the thing here is we can really make some big, big improvements to all of our performance in all of our businesses by just getting a bit sharper on the process, by cutting out those days, those minutes, those times that are lost over the course of the sales cycle. I already talked about the benefit here of having the foresight from your partner of telling you, what does the process look like? What pitfalls did you fall in? What things can we get ahead of so we don't fall into those same pitfalls? Very, very, very valuable to get that information from your partner when co-selling. Likewise, and I make myself unpopular when I say this, by the way, so sorry, but newsflash, customers do not enjoy buying from us. I'm sure they like us, don't get me wrong, but no customer gets up in the morning, springs out in bed and goes, what have I got today? Oh, good. I'm meeting, Software Inc. to talk about their demo or something like that. It doesn't happen. So if we can make the process of buying more efficient, diligent, faster, it's a win for the customer and it's a win for us. So if we can do these little advancements to improve our approach, everybody is a winner. And then my favorite part of this is the paper process. Normally the paper process kicks in about halfway through the deal, right? Normally towards the end, because that's when we get into the paperwork. Well, the beauty of Microsoft commercial marketplace is we can bring that right to the front of the conversation. Not just because doing a deal, as we all know, on marketplace is like putting our deal onto like rails, like Microsoft rails, and then pulling it by a bullet train, and deals just happen faster. That I don't need to tell you that. We've seen the data, you've experienced it. But also because if we can, like I said before, with people like the economic buyer, there'll be a champion in the business who is pro buying that way. If you can bring that conversation right to the front of the conversation, you're going to differentiate yourself. This is going to sound like this is the type of organization we like to work with. They sound to be into just the things that we're into. It's a win-win. So, and my kind of little goal here is that the P in paper process will change and stand for place. Hey, a man can dream, right? All right, so that's what is MEDDICC. What is a common language? You might be thinking, well, that's kind of obvious, isn't it, Andy? Well, the thing here is GTM 1.0 is kind of broken. Everybody's doing great things. We're better than we've ever been before, but we're kind of siloed. Even if we're pointing the same way, we're siloed because everybody is speaking a different language. It's not that they want to be siloed, it's just the case that they are. Imagine your teams, right? You probably have a variation of these go-to-market teams, right? When it comes to talking about value, everybody has a different word for the same thing, right? Everybody has a different way of talking about the same thing. Same thing for stakeholders, the same thing for process. We're all trying to move in the same direction, talk about things in the same way, but we have different ways of saying the same thing. And it gets more complicated because then we bring in our partner. Nick said to me, he said, how much does Computer Centre's page to put their logo in? And I said, I didn't know that was a thing. So Computer Centre hit me up with some money for putting your logo in here. But you have your own language, right? You have your own language. And so it gets more complicated. Everyone's trying to pull in the same direction. Everyone's trying to talk about the same things, but everyone's got a different way of talking about it. It doesn't have to be that way. That's why we see that you can have a common language. Now, the first thing about common language is the customer has to be right in the middle. That's critical, right? We all want to put the customer in the middle of everything we do. And then we wrap the customer with value. These are the 3 stages of value we see. It starts with positioning value. That's what marketing does. That's what product marketing does. SDRs, even sales. We're still positioning early in the sales cycle. We're positioning the value we can provide. We're trying to find our feet of how we can help the customer. Then we switch into selling. Once we've found how we can sell, we start selling, and then when we win the deal, we go about delivering it, right? So it's like about positioning, selling, delivering value. Then we have our go-to-market teams. Now, this is not supposed to be a definitive version of what your go-to-market team looks like. It's illustrative of how you can bring a common language to bring everyone together. So you might have more teams, you might have less, you might do more in different bits. That's not what I'm after. Then we have the methods, the things you do to help you win, the things you do to make your customers happy, all of these things, everything from value pyramids to proposals, all that kind of stuff. And then we have the outside layer here, our channel layer, our partners who are working with us. In this case, we're an ISV, but we could be any way around here in this way. And we are using a common language to communicate about all of those things. So what it could look like if I'm Wiz and I'm selling to Waystar Royco, and I'm working my sales team, and I'm planning, and I'm looking into the account, and I uncover that actually Waystar Royco, they work very closely with Accenture and Softcat. That's great news. They're good partners of ours. We can get together with them. We can do some stakeholder mapping, and what we uncover, because Logan Roy, their CEO, is super sharp, he, of course, is heavily invested in Microsoft. They are wall to wall. The cruise ships, the TV stations, the newspapers, the theme parks, they all use Microsoft, and it's all running on Azure. And because Logan Roy is sharp, of course, they're going to procure through the Microsoft commercial marketplace, which is good. So then we can be together, and we go live plan together, everyone's in sync. What about the rubric saying to start? Well, in this case, we're in the value stages. We're really trying to work together with our partners here to sell the value. So we can use, whether we use a value pyramid, business value assessment, proof of concept, proof of value, we're all talking about value, the same thing. Remember, when we talk about pain, we talk about the pain, we talk about the gain. We measure the delta between the two with the metrics. We talk about how we do it with decision criteria. It's a common language. We can all talk the same way. Adobe selling to the greatest football team of all time, Norwich City. I don't know why that's funny. I think it's true. And in this case, we're in the negotiation. Both PwC and Deloitte, they're bidding for the opportunity here. And so we're all talking between all 3 of us and Microsoft. We've got that same common language to know where we stand. When we win the business, everything just it's like the best handover in the world. We're going to know exactly what problems we're solving, exactly what value we're delivering, exactly how we're going to do it. Everything is tied up with a common language. Nutanix already have Vault as a customer, so when they do the expansion upsell with Microsoft and CDW, it's all the same thing again. Everyone's just aligned. Now, you might have seen, or you might not have seen, but you might have seen these little triangles here. This is something we call MEDDICC value. This is a new product. Basically, we saw that there was no way of organizations to really bring the value they bring, their value proposition, to the market, unless you fly expensive consultants in from America every time you want to refresh it and learn a new language, basically. So we created MEDDICC value, which basically builds on top of MEDDICC's common language to give all go-to-market teams the language they need to talk about values to their customers. How this basically works is it starts with positioning value. So we take a use case and we bring together a story that goes with that use case, and you can have multiple of these, whoever you are, whatever solution you're selling, bring those together, and it helps the customer to understand where you've done this before. You can use this on your website, SDRs can use this, you use this in conversations about co-selling. It's just a great way of packaging up the value that you can bring. When you pitch this to the customer, if it resonates, you can then evolve it to an M2. You can say, okay, well, this is where we've done it before. Let's make it look like what it would look like for you. So it's like a hypothesis of value. And we build lots of those and say all these use cases are going to bring all these different bits of value together. When we win the deal, as we inevitably will, they turn to an M3, which is now us delivering that value, right? So we've talked about this is the value we could provide, this is the value we promised to provide, and this is the value we're now aiming to provide. And that becomes very powerful throughout your whole customer engagement to be able to basically engage with your customers on a value-based message. The components of an M basically are what we've already talked about. You know, what pain do we solve, what gain do we get from solving it, what's the metrics there, decision criteria, you know, who's involved, and who's the competition. So you've got this perfect capsulization of a value proposition that you can use in conversations. You know, our customers just, you know, if there's a co-sell motion going on between two customers of ours, they just send over an M1 or two M1s and they know exactly what the proposition is. It's really concise. All right, so a common language is important. We have to speed it up now. But specifically, what are the requirements of a common language? Well, the first thing, and it's going to sound daft, but it has to be common. And you think, well, obviously, and why are you wasting my time telling me this? Well, apparently, I have to say it because there's lots of other frameworks out there that aren't common that are calling themselves common languages. You can't be a common language if no one speaks it, right? It has to be, it's the clues in the name, right? A good way of finding out if it's common language, do a job search. So I did a job search in New York on LinkedIn for jobs that mentioned MEDDICC. There was 170 of them. If I combine Challenger, Miller, Hyman, Sandler, Gap Selling, and Spice, there's 49 of them. Actually, there's 36 because there was no results for Spice. That's bringing up spices, and Gap was bringing up the store. So there's not, you know, you see the difference in how common it is here. Another way of looking at this, if you take the top 8 public cloud companies by their efficient growth rates, 7 of the 8 of them are companies that use MEDDICC. The one that doesn't is Palantir. I mean, they might, I don't know. Does anyone know what Palantir are up to? No, I don't. We've talked about this already, right? But it has to work for every go-to-market team. We need to get all those other languages, put them in the bin, and have a way of commonly talking about our customers and the value and the stakeholders and the process when we engage with them. The third part here is has to work for the entire customer life cycle. Okay, so normally sales languages, common languages, value frameworks, they sit just in the sales part, right? They don't think about before selling or after selling. That's no good. That's not a language. That's a bit language you're doing in the middle. So there's like 3 ways people do this. They have the disparate go-to-market where they kind of, maybe they have like BANT or features and benefits the marketing team uses and the sales team are kind of doing their own thing. Then there's the more kind of siloed where they do, you know, they do one thing in marketing, SDR team's doing BANT, sales teams using MEDDICC to qualify, but they're not using it to talk about value, so they're using something else, another language there, and they're trying to like translate as they go, that's no good. Just use MEDDICC all the way through. It's like, it's a common language, right? Right, final part, naming. Not all MEDDICC is equal. Why do I have to talk about this? Well, it's because hopefully some of what I've said has resonated and maybe sparked some interest with you today. And you might go back to your teams, your business and say, hey, I think we might already use MEDDICC. There's more we could do here, or, you know, I've heard about this and you used MEDDICC before, can you help us implement it? The thing here is one of the great things about MEDDICC is it's kind of open source, right? That's a good thing about it. It means anyone can, you know, add letters, do what they want with it, write blogs, books, all that kind of stuff. That's a good thing about it. A bad thing is it means there's no kind of real sort of standard. And so you get one person that uses it because they ask ChatGPT what it stands for and someone that's been using it for 10 years and they both answer the question, I know MEDDICC, the same way. So it's just important to have this in mind. When others think about MEDDICC, they're kind of thinking of it just a qualification tool. So if you start to say, well, what do you do as a methodology? It's not a methodology, it's not a value framework, it's not a process. You can't measure with it, and therefore it doesn't work for go-to-market teams. It doesn't work for the entire customer lifecycle. Our view is, MEDDICC is a great qualification tool. It's the best in the world at that. Don't get me wrong for a second here. If I have a question and I want to find out, do I have a champion? Have I engaged in economic buyer? Do I know what the decision process is? Those are all great things to qualify. But there's another part of this of well, how do I build a champion if I don't have one? How do I engage with the economic buyer if I haven't got to engage with them yet? How do I accelerate the decision process? Those are methods. We all do those. You all know those. You all have your tactics. What we're saying is we can underpin this with a common language to make everybody's tactics the same tactics so everyone knows what they're talking about. Same thing with value. How do we bring value to a champion? How do we know when we need to have a champion in the process? How do we know what the impact of a champion is and isn't? Right? We saw, we were able to see one of our customers that in their first Q4 of implementing MEDDICC, 89% of their champions were the same persona, right? Which is really powerful. They couldn't do that before. But the other thing they also found out was that they had no marketing for that persona. They didn't even know that persona was a good person. In fact, they thought they were a detractor. They proactively discouraged their team from engaging with that person because they had no common language of identifying who their champion was. Major. So of course, it works for all go-to-market. I'm not going to go through all of these because I think I'm probably right up on time here. But the point here is you have a common language that works for all the good things you're already doing, but it brings it all together under one common language. So to summarize, my big, hairy, audacious goal is that we can, as a team, as a group, as an industry, change the P in MEDDICC from standing from paper process to stand for place, marketplace. That's it. Thank you very much for your time and attention. You can connect with me on that.
Thanks, Andy. That was fantastic. Thank you.
So thank you to Andy White and MEDDICC. Had some great tips there to help you get started with Marketplace and drive some success. And really, it all starts today, and hopefully this session is very helpful to you to get you started with Marketplace. I mentioned the Canalys study earlier, and within that forecast of $85 billion in spend by the year 2028, Canalys also raised their forecast of how much of this was going to flow through channel partners, right? And so if you're wearing that purple badge today, it's a good time to start the conversation with somebody wearing the green lanyard, right? If you're in the green, you should be looking for somebody that's in the purple because there's a good chance you're going to be working together and you're going to be selling each other's components. And really, there's no better place for this channel story than right here within the Microsoft partner ecosystem. With over 500,000 partners here, there's a lot of things you can go sell, and there's a lot of people you can go look to sell your stuff, right? So it's a pretty compelling statement around the size of that ecosystem. One of the things that we are doing to really drive this with Microsoft Commercial Marketplace, we continue to innovate. And so one of the latest features, the one that we're really here to talk about today, is a feature that we call multi-party private offers. And so multi-party private offers are now available for customers purchasing in not only the United States, but also Canada and right here in the United Kingdom. We've also announced that the next two markets we're focused on for multi-party private offer functionality will be Western Europe and Japan. Throughout today, you are going to see this slide a lot. Later today, Chris Whitehead from Marketplace Fast Track is going to take you deep into every component of this particular workflow. And then later this afternoon, we'll have Darren Sharp do a magnificent job of walking you through some practice building around this particular slide. I'm going to cover just two really important points. The first point is that we see two use cases for multi-party private offer. The first use case is that case where a customer prefers to purchase their software through a trusted advisor partner. It could be an MSP, it could be an SI, it could be a VAR down the road, but customers do prefer to purchase through trusted advisor partners. The second use case is ISVs that prefer to sell through their channel partners. And many of you in this room are those ISVs. You have rather significant channels already off Marketplace or on other marketplaces. We want to enable that scenario for you, and multi-party private offers is the way that we enable that within the enterprise customer space here at Microsoft. The other really important kind of inside point on this is our team has done a lot of analysis around the multi-party private offer transactions that have taken place in the United States thus far. And over 90% of those deals all originate right there where you'll see the number 2. It's the channel partner interacting with the customer that's driving the vast majority of multi-party private offer deals. So when I think about marketplace and maybe you're considering where you're at on your marketplace journey, there's no better place to kind of get some peer advice than from a Microsoft Partner of the Year award winner. And we're just so lucky that we have one of those here today with us. So we have Nick Ross, who runs the UK and Ireland channel at Wiz. They were the 2024 Microsoft Worldwide Marketplace Partner of the Year. Nick, will you please join me on stage?
Cool. Thank you. Just a bit. You know? Thank you. Thank you. Let's see what. All right. Fantastic.
So, this is an interesting one, right? A lot of buzz about Wiz in our industry lately. And I think one of the things that we all found out through that buzz is that marketplace is a really big deal to Wiz. So I'm very pleased to have you here, Nick. So let's just start. Tell us a little bit about your role at Wiz. And I really would love to start with, like, why do customers love Wiz?
Good question. So I'll start with a bit about my role as leading the UKI channel. So we've got to start with our customers, and our goal really is to surround everyone that our customers trust and weave Wiz into that trusted advisor network. We are a cloud security platform, and our mission is to help organizations secure everything that they build and run in the cloud. And partners are massively important, as is the CSPs for us.
So thinking about the importance of marketplace, right? That's obviously a big deal for you guys.
Huge.
Walk us through a little bit about your marketplace strategy and the thinking there.
Yeah, sure. So it's a no-brainer for us. We are a cloud security platform. It makes total sense to meet our customers where they are, in the least friction, the most natural place for them. When it comes to Microsoft Commercial Marketplace, one of the things that we've always done is we've given CSPs, we've given very early insight into our pipeline, because we see the lift that we get, the scale that we get from partnering closely with Microsoft, accelerates deals, reduces time to value for our customers.
So I've had the luxury of watching Wiz grow your MPO sales over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And just tell us a little bit more about, like, what is it that you guys are doing with channel partners? Because it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, so I mean, we've got ridiculously ambitious goals, I would say. We can't do that on our own, particularly in the UK. We've made a global stance that we will not do anything with a customer unless a channel partner is involved. That is our route to scale. That's the way we acquire new customers. That's the way we retain and look after them for the long term. And that's how we expand into new product lines. Partners are the glue that brings everything together.
So we have an opportunity to hear from a Partner of the Year award winner. Give our ISVs in the audience like one or two just kind of pieces of advice.
Yeah, the first thing I would say, and I know it's not applicable to everyone, but if you are selling to customers and it's a cloud-related project, actually, regardless of that, you're either with the channel or you're not. You're either 100% selling with them, or you may as well not be at all. If you want their investment in skills, in go-to-market, you have to come down one side of the fence. Being 50-50 is not good enough, I would say. And the second thing is, figure out how you can bring yourselves to the fore with the CSPs. Give them early insight into pipeline.
So same question, what would you like to tell channel partners in the room?
So from our standpoint, it may not be the same across all, but over 90% of our revenues go through a cloud marketplace. We are growing at a massive rate. We are not the only vendor in this space in the cloud to be doing so. I would encourage all of you, if you're not thinking seriously about marketplace, commercial marketplace, this motion by now, you probably haven't got very long left until the ship has sailed. That would be my view.
Well, Nick, thank you for being here today. Thank you for sharing that insight with us, and congratulations on being a Partner of the Year award winner.
Appreciate it.
I want to thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers.
All right.
Jason.
So I love Nick's story and the Wiz story. I think what I pull out of that is really the concepts you hear around marketplace all the time around scale and unlocking growth. Also that they're marketplace first and channel first, right? So I think it's a really good example for everyone to think about. We've got, we're talking about multi-party private offers, but we have multiple ways that we go to market with ISVs and channel partners. So many of you in the room, especially the ISVs in the room, you're familiar with what we call ISV to customer private offers. Those are the offers in which a channel partner is not really involved. Many of you sell into customers at Microsoft that buy their Microsoft Azure on cloud solution provider licensing contracts. And for those customers, we have a model that allows channel partners to sell to them through what we call ISV to CSP private offers. So if you're a direct CSP in the room or an indirect reseller CSP, and you have those customers that typically live in our SMB segment or sometimes SMC, that's your way to sell custom marketplace deals to those customers. We're going to spend a lot of time today on multi-party private offers. But one private offer that we'd like to at least bring up today, because we announced this 3 weeks ago, is what we call transactable professional services private offers. So now we have the ability for you to sell your professional services through a marketplace transaction. I like to say these are available wherever MPO is available, and that's really the case. They're available wherever we launch MPO. We'll follow that with professional services transactable offers. So today, Canada, the US, and the UK, you can sell these offers. So if you're an ISV in the room and you do things like, let's say, workshops or briefings or proof of concepts to get your customer to the buying stage, those are usually, you may have a systems engineer or consulting services org that deliver those. Those are probably billable work. You can now sell those through the marketplace. If you want to sell your application and sell an implementation contract with it or a support contract, you can now do that through the marketplace. If you're a systems integrator or an MSP and you want to sell your solution assessment or your implementation engagement or maybe even a support contract, and your customer prefers a modern procurement buying experience, you can now sell those through Microsoft Commercial Marketplace. So we've expanded the functionality for you. With all of this functionality expanding and the number of partners that are engaged, things are getting really interesting, right? There's some complexity in this marketplace. And what I love about Microsoft is that whenever we have a new technology or a new product, somebody in that 500,000 strong ecosystem leans in and they innovate on top of that and create new opportunities for all. And that's one of the things I love about what's going on at Workspan. And we just are so lucky today that we have Amit Sinha, who's the president and co-founder of Workspan. Amit, please join us on stage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, thank you for joining us.
Of course.
I'm a big fan of what's going on whenever you tie the ecosystem together, but can you start just tell us a little bit about Workspan and what it is that you do?
Absolutely. Workspan is an ecosystem orchestration platform. We connect ISVs, channel partners, service partners with marketplaces, Microsoft, so that you can do more business together. The idea of co-selling together, co-building new listings together, that's the exact end-to-end process we do. And very quickly, we're very delighted and thankful for Microsoft because Microsoft invested in our Series B and C. And thankful for that investment, but also this partnership.
Yeah.
And we were talking backstage. As part of that investment, a quick story. Satya asked us only one question during the evaluation process. It was, can you connect ISVs, service partners, and bring them to Azure? Because we can do this multi-party thing, that's what makes Workspan unique. So full circle moment for me.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit. I think what I think is interesting is you connect people all the way from deal identification through some of the most onerous parts, which is integration to Partner Center of all things, and then even give them insight afterwards, right? So walk us through kind of that framework at Workspan.
Absolutely. So our front and center thing is we begin with your business, whether you're an ISV, a services partner, or a channel partner, your business, right? You have your ways of doing things. You heard MEDDICC. You have your own sales processes encapsulated in your CRM. What we do is we bring the marketplace, we bring the partner center inside your Salesforce, your Microsoft Dynamics, your HubSpot system. Your sellers don't need to learn two systems. It's in their process and their system that you can enable this entire end-to-end transaction. So we'll work with an ISV partner to help list on the marketplace. We'll work with them to do co-sell automation between their CRM and then Microsoft Partner Center, and then come down to channel partner private offers or direct private offers. We enable that private offer transaction as well.
So
all inside.
I'm glad you bring that up. So we've been talking about some of the things you guys are doing with multi-party private offer. Just kind of give us a couple examples there.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you think about the end-to-end business process, it kind of begins in your CRM with your seller, right? Let's say you're in the early stage of the deal cycle. What we've seen is people who use automation like Workspan, they register 3 times more number of opportunities with Microsoft. With automation comes that flexibility. Then comes, let's say you're in stage 7 of the deal now. You're about to close this offer. You have a choice going direct. You want to work with a channel partner. You want to work with a marketplace. Why would you do that? Ease of transactions. You can easily identify customers which are MAC eligible. You can work and identify which channel partner is actually doing that piece. And you can orchestrate that all end-to-end within Workspan. So the way it happens is using Workspan, a channel partner can request an ISV for authorization, or an ISV can give an authorization to a channel partner. Both ways is possible. And that way you can be a multi-party private offer on Workspan.
So to sum up, just give us a quick summary of the Workspan story.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at our experience, we power ISVs like Databricks, MongoDB, Palo Alto Networks. In fact, top 100 ISVs and tech companies. NVIDIA, Microsoft relationship is on Workspan as an example. What we've seen is that companies who have done well, they've connected their entire seller experience with the vast ecosystem that Microsoft provides. So multiply your seller experience with the ecosystem that is available out there. It's exponential, period. And that's how you connect. And I think that's the best practice that you should establish. The second one is, it's not enough to connect companies and people. You also have to connect the process and the data, right? And this is where we come in, embedding the Microsoft commercial marketplace processes inside your CRM, the Microsoft Partner Center co-sell experience inside your CRM, and that creates the velocity of transaction. That increases deal win rates. People register earlier. Because they're registering earlier, you get a chance to expand deal sizes, connect better, and drive the win rates up. So speed and simplicity of this automation. And lastly, don't underestimate the value of data that you're collecting as a result. You may have 1x information about your customers, but when you work with an exponential channel ecosystem, you're collecting intelligence as well as to who's selling, how much are they selling, where are they selling. And when you put all of this together, it gives you a complete picture of your ecosystem. And because it's connected, it's actually in real time. It's not data that you hunt for and have a QBR fire drill to get this information. You have insights at your fingertips. These 3 things.
So speed, scale, and I do love the connection parts to some of the most difficult pieces of doing a deal with Microsoft, right? So thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
Glad to have you here.
Yeah.
And
thank you.
The one thing I do know about you guys is you have some of your team here today. So
absolutely.
Hopefully we'll get a chance to meet some purple badges and green badges in the networking event later.
Absolutely. Peter and Maxima here. Happy to engage, share more insights.
Thank you.
One-on-one as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I've mentioned this earlier, and you'll hear it throughout the day, the most partner-focused business platform. And I also mentioned a couple of things that we've done, right? Multi-party private offer expansion. We've got big plans to roll that out geographically. Professional services transactability. So we think about marketplace features and functions and how we strive to improve marketplace there. But sometimes we improve marketplace through policy changes as well. And I think today is a great opportunity because today I'm happy to announce that we're going to cut the agency fee in half for renewals. Let's dive into a little bit about what this means. So if you are selling via private offer, ISV to customer private offer, multi-party private offer, you will receive, whether it's an existing contract, so something you've already sold on Microsoft Commercial Marketplace, or if you've sold it off of Marketplace. All we ask that you do is you attest that this is a renewal when you create your private offer. And at that point, you receive a 50% reduction in your agency fee on that renewal. So I think this is a pretty exciting announcement for many of you that have been on with us for a while and have been asking for more kind of speed and agility around your renewals. And we also see this with channel partners as well. I will remind you, though, that this will go live on October the 1st. So you won't see this in your resource kit that you'll get until September the 30th. We really want you to be successful with this. And at Microsoft, we've got lots of ways to support you. I think when we look at the marketplace journey, we look at it across 4 pillars: build, publish, grow, and differentiate. So if you are an ISV in this audience today and you haven't started your marketplace journey, maybe you're thinking about, hey, should I build on the platform? Should I get to transactable? You should join the ISV Success Program. It's really easy. Go to Microsoft.com/ISV. There you'll get help to not only get on platform, but also get to transactable. If you're a channel partner in the room and you have yet to enroll in MPO, that's pretty easy as well, right? The bar is pretty low. All you need is a partner ID, but you have to do a little bit of heroics within Partner Center. Just send an email to channelready@microsoft.com and the onboarding desk will help you through that enrollment. If you've got an ISV, if you're an ISV, by the way, and you're a channel partner struggling with that, introduce them to channelready@microsoft.com as well. If you're through that stage and now you're ready to go, ready to grow, we have a great program for ISVs called Marketplace Rewards. And within there, you get access to case study support and press release support, access to Microsoft Mondays to talk to our field sales teams. And probably what most of you know the most around that program is Azure sponsorship to help you go out and close deals. You also get access to the Marketplace Transact and Grow incentive, where we pay you a cash reward when you hit your first $100,000 in Marketplace Build sales, and then again when you hit the $4 million. We've actually been piloting Marketplace Rewards for channel partners for the past few months, where we're providing some of those same benefits that we give to ISVs, especially that Azure sponsorship to help you go out and win deals. If you're into that phase where it's now time for you to differentiate your business, you should probably, as an ISV, start thinking about the different designations we have. But most importantly, you should get to IP co-sell incentivized status. That's the place where you start to really trigger the relationships with our sales teams. And it's also the place where you make that little box light up that says your app is Azure benefit eligible. So with that, I'd like to once again thank you all for attending. I think it's going to be a great day. We've got some great content lined up for you. So thank you very much.